So you hold Ulti and you love getting those Friday dividends. But have you ever asked yourself, what's Ulti doing to generate this income? I mean, I know it's options trading, but what kind of options trading? How are they actually producing these high yields with options? Well, in this video, I decided to take a look at that. I'm peeking under the hood. I'm going into the sausage factory and finding out how it's made. And in this video, I'm looking at one specific Tesla credit spread that Ulti just made to see how they could potentially generate $1.4 million in just 7 business days of trading, or potentially lose $2.9 million in just 7 business days of trading. Exciting stuff, guys. So let's get into it. So the 2 trades that you see on your screen now are 2 puts. One is a put that Ulti bought, and the other is a put that Ulti sold. The put that Ulti sold is how they generated some income, and the put that Ulti bought is how they protect their downside. Let's break down the very first one, which is how they generate income, where they sell the put. So when you're selling a put, that means you have the obligation to buy shares at a certain price. And for that risk, you get a premium. Remember, in most cases with options trading, the person who takes on the risk is the one who gets the money. So in this case, they're agreeing to buy Tesla at $360 on or before September 19th. And for that, they get $8.10 per share. Now, remember that options contracts trade at 100 shares. So when you see here that Ulti sold 2,900 contracts, that's actually 290,000 shares. So for that, you can multiply 2,900 times 100 times $8.10 to get $2.349 million. That's how much they're going to receive from selling this put option. And let's take a look at the put option that they bought, which is the right to sell Tesla at a certain price. And in this case, that price is $345 per share. For that, they had to pay $3.18. So the math here is $3.18 per share times 100 shares times 2,900 contracts gets you $922,200. This is what's called a credit spread, and their cash flow looks like this. They get $2,349,000 from selling the puts, and they had to pay $922,200 from buying them. They get a net credit of $1,426,800. So if Tesla does expire above $360, then they get to just keep that credit of $1.4 million. The option that they bought expires worthless. If Tesla trades below $345 on Friday the 19th, then Ulti is going to lose money. How much money are they going to lose? Well, it's going to be the spread, which is $15. So that's 360 minus 345. So that spread of $15 is $15 per share times 100 shares times 2,900 contracts is $4.35 million. So that's how much they could potentially lose, but they have that credit, remember, of $1,400,000. So their net loss could be around $2.9 million. So if Tesla trades between 345 and 360, Ulti is going to have a range of outcomes. The further the Tesla stock price goes down, the more loss they're going to have. But they do have a break-even price. How do we get to that? Well, you take how much they could potentially make per share, which is $8.10, versus how much they're paying for that, which is $3.18, and the difference between that is $4.92. So they basically have a provisional credit of $4.92 per share. So you take $360 per share minus your credit per share, which is $4.92, which gives you $355.08 per share. So at that point, that's where Ulti breaks even, because if they have to sell shares for $360, they could buy them back at $355 and add in that credit, which would get it to an average share price of $360, and they would break even. To figure out what Ulti's potential return on investment is, we have to identify a few things. Number one, the spread, which is the difference between the two strike prices. So again, that's going to be $15, the difference between 360, and 345. So that's $15 spread per share. Next, we need to translate that into contract exposure. So at $15 per share times 100 shares, that's $1,500 per contract. For 2,900 contracts, that's $1,500 times 2,900, or 4.35 million notional spreads. Then we need to adjust for the credit, which we explained earlier was $4.92. But going back to how we got it, $8.10 per share is how much we're getting. But then we're capping that with a little bit of downside exposure at $3.18. So that gets you $4.92 credit per share, or $492 per contract. So the capital at risk per contract would be $1,500 minus $492 per contract, or $1,008. And then you multiply $1,008 times 2,900 contracts, which gets you roughly $2.9 million at risk in this options trade. So now that you have the money at risk and how much you could potentially make, you simply divide the two. So 1.4 million divided by 2.9 million is roughly 48%. So it is a potential return on investment of 48%. That, guys, is how Ulti is potentially going to make $1.4 million off this Tesla credit spread. We'll keep a very close eye on the price of Tesla to see if it keeps above 360, if it starts dropping closer to the break even of 355, and we'll keep an especially close eye on if it goes down to 345. Something tells me, because I'm an optimist, it's going to stay above 360, but I've been known to be wrong in the past. So thanks for watching, guys. If you want to learn more about Ulti, specifically the positions it holds, the options trades that it's placing, or maybe you want to learn more about other covered call ETFs out there, there are a lot of interesting ones, or you just want to live that dividend life, then I'd encourage you to check out the channel, see what other videos I've posted that interest you, and give it a subscribe if you think that you'd want to see more from me on these topics. And lastly, if you enjoyed this video, if you got some value out of it, definitely give it a like. If some of it was confusing or you thought it should have been done differently, give me a comment, tell me what feedback I should incorporate for a future video. And speaking of future videos, I'll see you in one.